Welcome back, Leo Lions. This is Mrs. Morgan with today's lesson over volume of cylinders. So you can find these notes on the second page of the volume of prism notes that we already did. So cylinders, remember their base is a circle. So it's going to be the same formula as our prism. So we're going to find the area of the base, and remember you can't see it, but there is the same exact circle down here that the cylinder is sitting on. So we're going to find the area of the base and then multiply it by the height, because remember we're trying to find everything that can fit inside of this cylinder. So if we were to fill it up with something. So the formula is similar, but instead we are going to replace the capital B in that last formula we did for prisms. So the volume formula for a cylinder is always pi r squared. That's the area of the base, the area of a circle. And then we're going to multiply it by its height. And there's the formula. So pi r squared times height. So our first goal is we want to make sure that we are given the radius and the height. So let's find the volume of this cylinder in this picture. So I always start with write down the formula and then let's replace the variables that we know. So in our shape over here that we are given, we have in the circle from the center to the outside. So remember that half of the circle, that is our radius. Now if we're ever given the diameter, remember we have to cut that in half. Then over here, the height is 7.5. So we're going to replace the r with 5. And I'm going to put my squared on there since it's in the formula. We're going to replace the h with 7.5. Remember these are all being multiplied, so I'm going to put that multiplication symbol in between. And then we still have pi, which is that 3.14, we can put that in our calculator. So to find this volume, we're just going to multiply everything on the right side there. Now, I am going to show you, we're going to do the exact volume first. So remember, in terms of pi, that means pi is going to be in our answer. So when we do that, just work with the numbers. So I'm going to do my 5 squared and then times 7.5. So we get 187.5. So 187.5, and then don't forget, we still have that pi. We have not multiplied by pi, so that's going to be in our exact answer. And this is labeled in inches, and volume is labeled cubed. So cubic inches, and this is what we call our exact volume in terms of pi. So last step, what we could do then is actually take that 187.5 and multiply by the pi symbol. So I'm going to take my calculations and just put in times pi. So we get 589.048. And let's see if the instructions, they don't say where to round. So let's round to the nearest tenth, but you always want to double check that you're following instructions if it tells you where to round. So 589, if we round to the nearest tenth, it's just 0.0. So 589 inches cubed. And now that is the rounded volume because we multiplied by that pi button. So there, again, I gave you two answers. You always want to read instructions to determine which one are you finding out. Are you doing the one with pi in the answer, or are you multiplying by pi? I'm going to get rid of that so that doesn't confuse you. Okay? Now, the second example is a little different because it says if the volume of a 10 centimeter high cylinder, so there we are given the height, since it says the high cylinder, and we know the volume is 986.46 cubic centimeters. So this is actually the V. And in this scenario, it's saying what is the radius? So when we do this, this is a little different. I told you guys I always start out with what is the formula. And now let's replace values that we know. So we know the height. I'm going to replace the h with 10. We know the volume. So on the other side of that equal sign, the v, I am going to replace with 986.46. Now that's all we're told. So the pi, well, that's a symbol. We know that value. The r is what we're solving for. We don't know the radius, and that's what we're trying to find. So I'm actually going to keep that variable. I'm going to do it in a different color so it stands out and it shows that that's what we're solving for. So once we get here, guys, it's like solving an equation where we want to get this variable r all by itself. So we need to get rid of this pi symbol, we need to get rid of the 10. Well, everything on the right side is being multiplied. So to undo that, remember, to undo an equation, we have to do the opposite. So we're going to divide by those pi and the 10. And we can actually do it at the same time. And then whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So pi divided by pi is 1. 10 divided by 10 is 1. And that's how we just got those to cancel out. And all we have left now is r, but we still have that squared. Now, the left side, we can put that into our calculator. So 986.46, I'm going to divide by 10 and pi all at the same time. So I have 31.399, so on. So 31.399, so on, so on, so on. Now, that isn't our value of r because we still have that squared on there. So remember, squared means r times r. So we're trying to figure out what times itself equals that r squared. So if we do the square root to both sides, remember, a square root means what number times itself equals that number under there. So I'm going to take my square root symbol over there, and I'm going to square root that whole answer, and we get about 5.6 for the radius. So I wanted to introduce this to you where not always are we just solving for, and actually I think, yep, it was given in centimeters. So I went back to check because I have the wrong label there. But sometimes we're just given measurements to find the volume, like the first example. And then sometimes we're given the actual volume and another measurement where we have to find a missing measurement. So that's a little different, but it's just like solving an equation. So there is some examples of how to find the volume of cylinders.